under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, our first item on the agenda is roll call. So, our member Joe Bissett is absent and excused. Ted Dumaine.
Here.
Travis Irons.
Present.
Don Cavella.
Here.
Gary Stelliborn.
Here.
Scott Trowell. Here. David Sarvis.
Here.
Of course, myself, Tom Sinkowitz. Scott, you are, of course, granted voting rights. Joe's absence. All right, next item is the acceptance of the minutes from our April 4th, 2018 meeting. Any discussion?
Move that the minutes be accepted as presented.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries to accept the minutes. All right, new business for our meeting this evening. Meeting with the department heads to discuss and review proposed fiscal year 2018-2019 budget. Wanted to first start off by giving Kelly, our finance director, an opportunity to give us a couple updates. One thing I wanted to just bring up first that's been asked about, if you could just remind us, I think this has been brought up at a previous meeting, Kelly, the purchasing and lease consideration for the chipper and backhoe. That is something that a couple people have asked about as far as, so what's the status on that and how is that handled? So if you could just mention that, please.
Well, right now, we're frozen, so we haven't done anything with it. It's in the proposed budget, I think, of $80,000, and it was for a lease out of the fund balance. And that was accepted by the public, but as of right now, it's in limbo, right?
It's on hold right now due to the budget.
Okay.
Is that the
Both
backhoe
of
chip?
them. Both,
Oh, both?
yeah. We haven't gone out to bid for it, nothing.
Okay. All right. That was just the one thing. Was there anything else you wanted to add?
You want me to summarize your revenue for you?
Yes.
So you can see what, the education cost share revenue, I am using the number I got through the state of Connecticut, not the political number of 14 million, so I'm using 13.4 million. Special education, it looks like it's a little increase of 100,000. Town aid roads is going to maintain the same as of right now, but currently I only got half of current year revenue for town aid roads, so I don't know if that number is going to get reduced. But right now it's 288,000. Local capital improvement for next year's budget will be reduced about 87,000. Pequot, Mohegan Pequot money, looks like we're going to be receiving that back, 82,000, so that's positive. State property pilot, reduction of about 39,000, we'll only receive 1,000. Hospital pilot, an increase of 15,000. Tax relief elderly, we didn't yet receive that at all from the state of Connecticut in the current year budget. It's not in the budget at all. So in next year's budget, I don't foresee us seeing any of that money, 108,000. So it's a state mandate, so we do have to provide that to the elderly, but we're not going to get reimbursement for it. And last one, municipal revenue sharing. Looks like we're going to get 144,000. That's beneficial to the town. That is more or less for highway purchases, all highway projects. Hospital property tax, that went out, that's not part of the current year budget. We're not going to get that next year either. Local revenue, we are going to reduce the pool receipts a little bit. It doesn't look like the 112 will be on target this year, so I don't want to overestimate the revenue for that. So it looks like we're going to bring it back down to 103,000. Recreation receipts, I think that's a target for 55,000 for current year recreation. I think that'll be attainable. Daycare, we no longer have that fund, so no revenue will be collected. And interest and liens, we always collect more than what we anticipated, so I increased that. In the past, oh God, we've collected about 300,000 in that line item, so we're bringing that up.
What's the percentage on our investment, that number?
The, interest that we're, like, receiving now,
Yeah.
1.5.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's beneficial, it's more than what we got prior years, but it's still low. A new line item I discussed last time is the back taxes, 425, we think that's attainable. Building permits, we maintain the same. Town clerk fees, Lisa can talk about that, but that looks like that's gonna be an increase in revenue, 21,000. The rest is pretty much the same. When you get down to the fund balance, we can discuss road construction. We have it in there for paving of roads, if I'm gonna get cut down LoSiP. We plan on going out to pave some of the roads in the spring, but we're gonna see what the cost of that's gonna be. Because right now I have 220,000, I wanna say, in LoSiP. WPCA will cover part of their bond payment for the WPCA project, the 5.5 million. That will be coming from the sewer department to help offset some of the debt. And then the last one was if we do for next year, back in chipper for 260,000 from the fund balance. And that's pretty much all the revenue. And as we discussed last time, it looks like a mill increase, 29.49. So that's what we're looking at as right now for the revenue.
Okay, thank you. All right, so the way this is going to work is to make sure that everyone can hear any discussion and anything that is presented tonight, particularly from the department heads. I ask that you come to the front of the room. Please introduce yourself and obviously what you're going to be discussing or mentioning. So that way, again, we can all hear it loud and clear. And it's also an opportunity for the Board of Finance, if we have any questions thus far on anything in the town budget and the departments, this is our opportunity to discuss and ask. So everyone will have an opportunity to come do that, who is present. And I also wanted to start off in giving Kathy, on behalf of the selectmen, an opportunity. So Kathy, if you have anything you would like to.
I'd just like to say that we have worked hard on our budget, and at the last meeting, I did go through all the cuts that we did to arrive at, and we are below last year's budget. So we are working hard. We're still working every day, looking to see possible changes. If we do have to come up with another $1 million cut, we're working very hard to find where we're going to do that cut, how we're going to do it. So again, every day is a different day, and the numbers can change. So we're just working hard, trying to save everywhere we can.
Okay, thank you, Kathy. So to start, I'd like to go to town clerk. Yeah, if you could, please, just so everyone knows who you are and get that.
So I'm Louisa Tracus, the town clerk. I've been the town clerk since 2005. And I feel like as years go by, I get a better handle every year about the revenue and expenses. I had anticipated revenue of $193,100 in fiscal year 16-17, but I was really happy to report to Kelly that we actually collected over $230,000, which was an increase of about $40,000. That was attributed for the most part to an increase in local conveyance collected. All other revenue sources stayed about the same. To date this year, I have collected almost $120,000 in local conveyance, which is an increase over $35,000 from the same period last year. So though the number of my recordings has stayed pretty consistent, this indicates that there's been a significant increase in property sales, and some were larger commercial sites, which brought in more conveyance to the town, a lot of conveyance for the state. And as you know, the state gets most of what the town clerk collects. So we're happy when we see local conveyance up. As you know, the town clerk's office not only collects our own revenue, but we also collect the revenue for the building department, the fire marshal, the planning and engineering department, and the assessor's office. When I researched my collections for tonight's meeting, I found that we have actually done over 4,400 transactions. That's how many transactions have been put through our cashiering system. And with a 3-member staff, that's a lot of transactions. I think one of the interesting things I wanted to point out to you is 18% of our collections are now being taken by credit and debit cards, which is quite significant. I think we started doing that in 2012. So that has, that is a really popular payment source. Also, maybe 3 years ago, I started e-recording, and my e-recordings are now up to about 20% of my total recordings. But just so you know, because we're e-recording doesn't mean there's less work. It's the same exact work we're doing if somebody hands something over the counter to us, but it's just quicker and more efficient, and the town gets the money quicker, instead of waiting for me to make the deposit and the checks to clear or whatever. Among many things we do, I know you know we issue dog licenses and bulky waste stickers. So far this year, we've issued 1,258 dog licenses and 6 kennel licenses. 900 of those dog licenses were issued during the month of June and July. In addition to issuing 900 dog licenses, during that same period, actually, we started issuing bulky waste permits on June 29th of last year, and in 2 days, we issued 136 stickers. And in the next month, during the month of July, we issued 786 stickers. So that makes for a really busy time in the town clerk's office. But in addition to that, we really remain busy all year. We not only record land records, DD 214s, births, deaths, and marriages, we also issue dog licenses, bulky waste stickers, as I mentioned, fishing and hunting licenses, and marriage licenses. A lot of our time is taken to assist residents and title searchers in finding deeds and maps, as well as assisting people doing genealogical searches. My staff is continuing to work on many projects, one of which was having all of our vital statistics counted, reviewed, and microfilmed. We are now back to 1921, and we're continuing to work back to the early 1800s. We have also worked on backscanning documents filed on the land records to make more images available in the office and online, which they are online. If anybody doesn't know that, they are. We have indexed all of our burial records and are currently working on indexing all of our military discharges. We have copied all of the First Selectmen's meeting minutes onto archival paper and had them microfilmed. And we'll be working on other meeting minutes from other boards and commissions during the next year, because none of our meeting minutes, other than those First Selectmen minutes, have been microfilmed. So if anything happened, we have no backup at all. So we're working on that right now. I'm anticipating a grant in the amount of $4,000 from the state library, but quite honestly, I have not decided how to spend it yet. Another project we completed is labeling and hanging all of our survey and subdivision maps, and there's clearly over 2,000 maps, and we have hung them all in hanging cabinets. Much of my job as town clerk includes my election duties, my financial duties, and keeping track of the goings and comings of all of the boards and commissions, which is really a very big job. So if you have time, I welcome anybody to come into my office. If you see heads in the computer, it's not because they're playing games, it's because they're working on all of these projects. So I don't know if you have any questions about my revenue or expenses?
Good question.
Yeah.
Your salary, you have 64,280 value on your budget, but in reality, it's just the, what is it, 65,571.
Hold on, let me
So,
just grab
I mean,
it.
your total budget's $1,200 less than what's on, I mean, the main budget's okay. I was just curious on,
Let me just, pull it. You mean on my
on your
anticipated?
salary? Yeah.
Because you're non-union. Because she's a non-union employee, she's an elected official, so she doesn't normally you don't put your increase ever in there.
I don't put it in.
No, but I mean, she
Yeah.
just don't have it on here.
Yeah,
On
yeah.
her budget.
Yeah.
Because when
What-
I give my budget to the first selectman, I don't add an increase because I never know, I'm not in a union, so I'm not guaranteed an increase, so I don't add one. Is that what you mean, Gary?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, and then if I get one, I'm always happy, of course, and I appreciate it, but I don't add it in. Ted, did you have a question too?
Yeah, do you charge a fee for a credit or debit card?
We do.
What's the fee?
So the company that we work with works with a lot of municipalities, and in order for the municipality not to have to pay a fee, the customer has to pay a fee. So it's 3% or $1.50 is the minimum, which is a little different than the tax office because I was grandfathered in. They had promised me $1.50 was the minimum, and I think the tax collector is working with the same company right now, and her minimum is $2, but mine is $1.50. So if you bought a fishing license for $32, you'd likely pay $1.50 extra if you used a card. And when I first started, a lot of people didn't think that people would willingly pay that fee, but believe me, they are happy to pay the fee. They don't care. And I can't not have them pay the fee because literally most of the things I collect for, the town only gets $1. And so if I paid that fee, I'd be losing money. So they pay it and happily pay it.
Does all your income go into the general fund?
Except for the dog licenses, they go into the dog fund. But everything else goes into
What's
general
the dog
fund.
fund?
The dog licenses, there's a separate account for that. So I deposit into 2 different accounts.
And how does it come out of that account? Where does it go to when it comes out?
The dogs,
It's the dog fund, so in your audit book, in the back, there's special funds, and the dog fund's listed in there. So it covers a portion of Karen's expenditures, and it's dog licensing that comes into the town, then I have to cut a portion of that back to the state. A bulk of that is I cut a check back to the state of Connecticut for the licensing. There's a fee.
The state gets a cut of that?
Yeah, yes, yes, yes.
a lot of it.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, any other questions for Louisa? No, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, elections, registrar. Maureen?
By the looks of the budget, nothing has changed in the past 2 or 3 years anyway. We stayed the same. Our costs are, go to our maintenance of the machines that we have. When we used to have the old good old lever machines that we loved. Now we have all these new fantangled machines that we have. We have 11 AccuVote machines. We have 7 IVS handicap machines. We have to pay for memory cards. We have to pay for we pay for the ballots. We have to pay for the memory cards that go into the AccuVote machines, and maintenance fees. So that's where most of our big expenses go to. I don't know if you have any questions.
Questions? No? All right, thank you. Police Department. Mike?
Mike Supernaut, Chief of Police. Obviously, I gave you a comprehensive budget report before this that approximately 2.5 months ago that you could look at and review. I answered some questions for you individually. Would you like me to go over anything, or do you have any questions from my budget? I showed you obviously statistics, calls that we answered, calls for the last 3 years, and line by line item of what that money is used, or what we do with the line items themselves.
Questions for Mike?
Yeah, I do.
Are the officers yet required to wear the vest?
Yes, all officers are required to wear their bulletproof vests.
On the training,
Yes,
you add up each individual line item, it actually comes out $1,000 more than what you're submitting for 24/5.
that's correct.
You're shorting yourself 1,000 there.
It's a typo, but the problem is with training, sir, is every time that you send somebody to training, we don't know what training is gonna cost because the state of Connecticut instituted about 2 to 3 years ago.
Right.
The police academy now charges for all training. Some trainings that you may go to may cost $250, some may cost $100. So I have a set amount, and we have to keep officers current and certified. So it depends on how much training I can get out of that $24.50.
Right, because you used the 24/5.
Yep.
In reality, it should have been 25/5.
Probably because it was during a cut with selectmen and Board of Police Commission, and I didn't see that inside the line item itself.
And on the vehicle expense,
Yes.
I got a $2,000 difference there.
You probably have.
You should have had 82,000, you have 80,000, I'm not sure.
We went from 82,000 to 80,000 in the Board of Selectmen's cut, sir.
I'm all set.
That came to you before some of those cuts were made. I tried to get my budget out to you as early as I could, so if you had any questions or anything you needed, you could come to me.
All right.
Take me through the training of a new officer that decides to leave town. Do we pay for that?
Yes, absolutely. Depends, there's two different types. Obviously, when we hire an officer, there's a battery of tests they have to go through, from a written exam to a psychological to a physical exam with a doctor, to a physical agility exam, to a polygraph test, to background, to financials, to a whole battery and litany of tests that they have to go through. Once they complete all of those tests, they go through 26 weeks at the Municipal Police Academy. Within those 26 weeks, there's multiple milestones that they have to hit. They pass or fail. When they're in that academy, you and I pay them. When they graduate from the academy, they need 400 hours of field training. Typically, the town of Plainfield puts them through about 14 weeks of field training, a little bit additional, a little bit more before we release them out on their own. And again, in that field training, they have to hit milestones to pass. There's 3 different phases that they need to hit and pass. And then the officer becomes a certified officer and he's out on his own. If an officer leaves the town of Plainfield and actively goes to another town within 2 years, we can get reimbursed up to 50% of all of the training and money that we put into that officer. If they leave after those 2 years, they're free to go. They're not captive. We can't hold them here. So they're free to go and they leave. We haven't had any officers that have left to go to another town. I think now Plainfield, the Plainfield Police Department is the destination police department where people want to come to us. So we haven't lost officers to other PDs except for one that I can recall in 5 years. All other officers that we have lost are no longer in law enforcement.
So up to 2 years, you get 50% of your cost.
That's correct.
Does the state pay any of that cost to you?
No.
The cost comes right out of our budget.
It comes right out of our budget. We actually have to pay their salary and we have to pay the state of Connecticut Police Officers Training Council money for them to train them also.
Well, how much that cost per officer?
Oh, just their salary, let's say for 26 weeks at about $800. So you're looking at, let's just say ballpark, $20,000 I have to pay. The police academy, $2,500 for them, plus I have to give them ammunition, which is about $1,000. I have to give them reams of paper, all their academy clothes. The officer themselves pays, and I give them a one-time fee of $1,200 for all their clothes. That's a bulletproof vest, that's usually about typically $1,000, boots, a couple $100, and all their uniforms. They usually have to put out about $3,000 to $4,000 per officer themselves. But that's what you have to pay to get that officer basically up to speed.
But his total cost from the minute he signs on with you and then starts his training.
Total cost, I'm going to say, is probably, it costs us about $35,000.
Yep.
is a fair and high number.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions?
The 50% that you said if they leave, they go to another department, we get it from the other department, so say they went to Stonington.
Either or. Realistically, it comes from the individual itself, because the individual knows that, so it'd be the officer, so I would sue him. We just hired an officer from another town, Groton Town Police Department. Groton Town Police Department had a $15,000 attachment to him. We paid that for him because it saved us $35,000. So we got a certified known entity of an individual that lived in our town who wanted to come here, so we paid the $15,000 fee.
Got the price.
Yes, correct.
We currently have 18 officers.
That's correct. We did ask for one additional officer this year in the budget because of obviously the budget and everything that's going on. We cut, in the Board of Selectmen's review, we cut one of the officers. Obviously, in the budget that I gave you, we are the lowest per capita police department in the state, 1.17 police officers per 1,000 residents. The state of Connecticut average is over 2. The federal average is almost 3. And you have all that information in your packet.
Are there any members of the commission here tonight?
No, there is not.
Okay. Any other questions? No. Thank you.
Thank you.
Town planning.
Lou Sawyer, Town Planner. I think all of you know we handle any application for development, whether it be residential, commercial, industrial, in town. Our budget is essentially the same as last year, except for a 2% increase due to contractual salary obligations. Are there any questions I can answer for you?
Just a quick one. On revenues, you anticipate like $30,000?
Approximately.
Yeah. And on the sheet, it just tells us it's 25,000?
I don't have that information. Where do you get 30 and 25,000 from?
Well, 25 is on the handout for
Okay.
The main handout, so it's 25 for revenues. And on your budget, you were saying 30,000 for revenues?
Okay, well, I didn't print the one that you have 25,000. My budget, yes, and I
Yeah,
based
sure.
that upon
Right.
what we've taken in so far this year, and I
Right.
projected that to.
On basically, the people's copy, it's saying 25,000.
That's a conservative number. I think that's the same as what we projected last year.
Yeah, it is the same. I can change that.
But that's something to change too, it all depends on.
I know.
development.
Thank you.
All set?
Any other questions? No? Okay, thanks. Highway Department?
Highway?
Yep, Highway Department, sorry.
Okay, I'm a little deaf.
No, that's all right, that's all right.
Okay, now I'm gonna get a little close, I can hear you well.
Yep. All
I
right,
also got to hear you.
so, in looking at the,
How many do you employ? How many work for you?
You got 10, you got 10.
You have 10? That
For
is-
me, that's for me.
When'd you get the 10th one?
January 16th.
And the 9th one?
Huh?
And the 9th one?
Yeah.
Ninth and
The
10th
10th
came.
and the January 16th. That, we got the 10th person.
Okay, and you
Yeah,
got the
9th.
10th person in January. And when did you get the 9th person? The one
Let
before?
me hit the date.
Was it in this budget yet?
We hired, that was, the date, I don't know exactly, but that was, Mike.
Was it in this
In
budget?
here, we got 10 altogether.
It was like March the prior year.
Huh?
March, like a year from.
Yeah,
March.
I know the date exactly, so.
Yeah. Yeah, 26. Sorry, Ted, 17. 2017. 17.
Boy, this is a very difficult question. Have we hired any new highway people in the 2017, 18 budget?
Yeah, we did in January,
That's the only one.
yes. The one prior to that was March of 2017, which would be the fiscal year 16, 17.
God, I'm gonna take this.
That's all right. Any other questions?
Can you explain what you would use the backhaul and the chipper for, the type of man hours that's going to be involved in it?
Oh, well, basically what the first one is going to be a call between the sewer and us. It was like, it was gonna be, like clean out the lines, which would be a little saving on that. Like I said, then the other one, the man hours, depend on how the weather is, we can stack them out. Last year, we did a few months worth, but it depended on what we was doing in between, like between all our cleaning the backhoe, all the catch basins. We couldn't clean them all because we don't have enough time, basically, because it's like 2 or 3 months, and we have a lot of catch basins to clean. And, you know, and man hours, like I said, I'm gonna estimate, like I said, about 2.5, 3 months, it depends, you know, 5 days a week, basically. It really depends on the weather, what I have to do in between. It's not like we do that year round, because we don't have enough time, because we have other stuff we could, you know, that we have to clean. And,
So you have a current machine right now?
yes, we do. It's a 19, I think it's 84. It's about, it's usable, but it's getting rusty. You know, we maintain them pretty well, shine them up a little bit. You know, paint the wheels up and make them look a little shiny, like we have something new. You know how you do it. You know how you gotta do it, you know, make them a little better. And a little wax on them, you know, shine them up. But it does need some maintenance for like, you know, welding wire and all that. It's getting there. Like I said, it's been a long time since we had it.
Will you keep it in service?
Oh, yes, you have an interest, we come down, we'll show you what it looks like. We'll give good tour, I have nothing to hide for you, if you wanna see it, come down, we have it look good, you know, whatever. For the year, the guy came down and tried to, you know, looking at it, when we got a interview, the guy said, oh, it looks pretty nice, you know, for the age, you know, it's not abuse, you know, age-wise, you know. We try to keep most of our stuff out. Yeah.
Is it something that we could share with another town? If we could get another town to share in the expense, where
Well,
like you talk to Griswold?
it's good and it's not good. Not everybody takes care of all the machines the same way. That's some of the problem you have. Like, you know, we try to keep our machine pretty good. You send it to another town, it's not the same. It comes back dirty, you know, it's not the same. When you get something to do it, you grease it up well. So, you know, sharing is not a big thing for me, but it's up to what everybody wants to do. If you do buy it, let's say it will be, you know, it'll be kept a long time. You divide up into so many years. You know, you figure so many years. You know, it's not that much expense when you think about it that way. You know, it's a big expense now, but like I said, what we get now is 1984, so it's, you know, it's about 30 years old. And like I said, it's a little bit rough. We got to do a couple minor work with the water tank leaking and you know, a few other stuff. Like I said, you interested? Come down and see it. This way, you don't think I'm pulling your leg or anything like that. You can see it, you know. And like, you know, we can use it. You know, we can net a year out of this. It's fine. The old one, you know, basically, you know, it's and now it's getting tougher now with the with, I think with the state about all the time you got to start doing all this. You know, all, you know, when you clean them and all that. So you have to keep a little, you know, I got a mark, I got a book that stuff, you know, when we clean certain ones, you know. And a lot of them right now, a lot of catch basins, they're getting shot, you know, from all the years of neglect, you know, that's how everything gets old, like everybody else, all our bodies, you know. So now we gotta do a lot of maintenance and fixing them all up. A lot of roads been there 40 years, no maintenance, you know, they're all falling apart, you gotta go in there and fix them. It's life, you know, so. It's like anything else, machine just lasts just so long, so.
Did you ever consider a rental?
Well, we didn't talk about, on that, and I
We
have.
talked about a rental.
We have talked about rental, and it can be expensive, and the thing with a rental is it may not be available when we need it, but it is something that we are checking into.
Not only a rental, a service, I should say. I know there are people out there that come into town and do it for you.
Yes, and
You've looked at
WPCA, they actually do that. They use a rental one to come in, but it can be expensive. And one of the things is that we've talked to the WPCA, and if we were to buy this, they would also be able to use it, because there is an attachment that you can put on it that can break through. Right now, they have to rent equipment to come in and do that. So if we were to buy this and get the piece of equipment on it, they would also be able to use it. So WPCA would actually contribute money into purchasing this when and if we decide to.
All right, any other questions for Highway?
What's the manpower used when operating the back truck? How many guys on it?
2 guys.
2 guys?
Yeah,
Okay.
and that's, you always have 2 guys. You need 2 guys no matter what, because like to take the covers off and hook the pipes together, the one we have now, you need 2 men, no matter, there's no way, I mean, by the time you put the pipe in there, sometimes down 15 feet, depending on the thing, you gotta, it's not a one-man situation.
All right.
Anything else?
No, thank you.
So, it's not the bottle, but I just have one question, Kelly.
Yep.
Why last year it's 80,000 and this year it's 260? That's the part that just doesn't look right.
Well, we were gonna try to just purchase it instead of doing lease payments. And then we're figuring if WPCA could kick in, you could just purchase it versus lease payments. That's the reason.
That's a tough part.
I know, I get that.
That's an extra
I was,
$180,000 that we don't have.
Right.
That's the point.
right, I get that. I was in a WPCA meeting recently for our $5.5 million project, and State of Connecticut came in, engineer, and was explaining to me about them testing the drainage. They're gonna start testing that, and if it's not a certain level, then you're gonna send that test out to the engineer, and then you're gonna have to treat that. So we're thinking maybe if we can maintain them now, we won't run into that problem,
Right.
so.
Yeah, it's just the extra expense.
Yeah, I get that. I'm worried about the engineering and all that type of stuff that might get involved, but we don't know, we don't know.
All right. Animal control?
Hello, Karen Stone, the Animal Control Officer. My budget's pretty small, pretty simple, but it consists of my salary, which is on the top item. The part-time worker, that's somebody who covers when I'm either out sick or on vacation, personal days. And supplies and expense covers everything else it takes to run the animal control department. And that includes propane, gas, dog food, veterinary bills, repairs, everything.
Okay, any questions?
Who's your part-timer?
Lisa Saros covers for me.
Is she doing that on a time-and-a-half basis?
I don't have that information.
Kelly?
Anything over 40 hours is time and a half.
Does she do it over 40 hours?
Sometimes, not always, it's not always, sometimes. Like holiday weekends and stuff, I run into a lot.
She has to work weekends. Is this open
Yeah,
7
because
days a
she
week?
can't work.
7 days a week, yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, she,
Any other questions? Thank you. Libraries.
Mary Quakers, Aldrich Library. Our budget is pretty much the same. We have only increased because of payroll. We're open 22 and a half hours weekly. We have 1 librarian and 4 part-time people working. most of our programs for children, since we're building a library in town.
Questions on libraries?
Is there any thought to making that turn it over to the town and make it a public library?
Not at this time, no. There's been no talk of that.
But right now it's a private library. But open.
Right, oh, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Building inspector?
Good evening, I'm Rob Kerr, the building inspector. I've been there for probably too long now, but my budget hasn't really changed except for contracts on our union salary for the contracts. Other than that, I don't know, anybody's got questions?
We talked about housings built in the last 3 years.
Yeah.
I think it was 3 years ago it was 15, 2 years ago it was 11, and last year it was 11. Do you have any figures right off the top of your head, what the average cost was for each one of them?
Of a house?
Yeah.
As presented to me for a building permit, they, under 200,000 right in there, 150 to 200. Because it doesn't include the land or the septic or the sewer or the well. So it's just foundation up.
Or does it include the land?
No.
So was it a fair estimate to say that they're probably valued when they're sold at 200?
Or more.
Okay.
I mean, you have smaller houses like what went over in the back of Sunnybrook. Those were probably in the 150 range. Then if you go up Finn Road where Eric Lado's building, they're up. There, he gets a higher end house. So it's kind of a mix throughout the town.
I was thinking of an impact fee on every house that's built. Have you ever heard of that in any local towns?
No. But we talked about that too, and we're also working on raising the fee capita on each permit, raising it from $8.26 a thousand to $10.
How much is it?
Right now, it's $8.26 per thousand.
Oh, okay.
And I know you're going to ask, so I'll just tell you that 26 cents is state mandated. We have a separate, I think we have a separate checking account for that. That 26 cents per thousand goes in that account and it gets mailed to the state, and they use that money to educate the building inspectors throughout the state. So I don't have to pay for classes anymore. I used to have to.
How many classes do you have to go to?
Fire marshal and building inspector need 90 hours in a three-year period.
Where do you go for that, Harvard?
No. They make them all around the state, and luckily enough, Kyle and I go together, and we go to Gardner Lake. That's the closest, and it's easiest, and it's simplest, and we're in and out. But they have them all over the place, mostly on the other side of the river, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's not much over here.
Any other questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
You said it's 826?
Yes.
Right now?
Yeah.
When was the last time we raised it?
Quite a while ago.
What do we have to do to raise it? What's required?
It's just a town meeting.
Okay.
Then we're gonna, we're gonna put language in there so that we won't have to go through a town meeting if we want to raise it again. It's gonna be decided on by the Board of Selectmen and I believe the building inspector, whoever it is at the time. So we wouldn't have to go through all of that. We could do it at a local meeting.
You can't remember the last time it was, it's been that for as long as you've been in it?
Jason Vincent was here. He's the one that spearheaded the ordinance. That's the last, so I don't know, 10 years, 8?
Jason
I lose.
Vincent? 98, 99?
Yeah, maybe. I lose track of
I
time.
was here then.
Okay.
He left around, I'd say, maybe 2000.
Yikes. It's that long, huh?
Yeah.
So I'm wrong.
Okay.
It was a long time.
Yes.
All right, any other questions?
Okay.
Thanks.
Well,
Tax collector.
Hello, my name is Karen. I cut my budget as much as I possibly can, so basically I can answer any questions you want. The one thing I know, Kelly was talking about the 450,000 back taxes. I did some research, and it looks like we were collecting between 600 and a million the last 3-4 years. So 450 is definitely a good amount. But as we're collecting back taxes, we're not going to keep collecting that much either. So I think 450 is a good amount. And we're currently, last 4 years, have been at 97% collection rate.
That's the standard.
Yeah, the
rate.
last 4 years, well, I went last 4 years, always 97% of the current grant.
If you physically collect 99 to 102%.
That's if you count everything, not the
Yes.
current.
I agree.
Right, yes.
Get the current. The total you take in a year
Right.
is usually up closer to 100 or over.
Right, that's what the money we're
That's
talking
what
about, the
you get the extra.
450, that, exactly.
97.
Yes, exactly.
You still have an outfit from outside to do that? You don't do that yourself, do you?
Do what?
Collect the taxes,
I collect that.
tax sales.
Oh, for tax sale, yes, Adam does, and I'll be doing one this year too, so, it's not coming in.
Any other questions? Thank you. Assessor.
Mary Ellen Hall, assessor for the town of Plainfield. We have property audits at 2,500, appraisals at 3,700, supplies and expenses at 6,650. Anybody have any questions for me?
We just had a reval that, I can't seem to find anybody that feels they got a good deal.
A good deal.
Everybody went up.
Yeah, well, everybody,
20%.
73% of residents have gone up, yes.
I gotta get a part-time job.
So 27% of people sure feel they have a good deal.
But are you satisfied with the way this reval is conducted?
Absolutely. I wouldn't have signed off on it any other way, yes.
And that's a shared situation with some other towns? The people that do
The regional
reval?
revaluation, yes, is a shared agreement.
So we
amongst-
budget a little bit of that every year?
Yes, yes, we do.
What's that end up costing, you know?
We budget, what,
32,542.
32?
Yeah, 32.
per year?
That's
Yes.
annually, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have those figures of how much
That's
it's
close.
saving us with me, but I do have that in my office. If you're curious, you can come and speak with me.
Okay, any other questions? No? Thanks. Kelly, finance?
The only increase I have is salary increases 2%. That's it. Holding payroll services should be able to maintain, and the auditors are keeping the rates the same, so we should be fine there.
Any questions for Kelly? No? All right. Fire marshal?
He's not here.
He's not here.
He's not here.
Very good. What about with our situation as far as our recreation department? Usually, maybe someone
Yeah.
report on that.
Myself or Kathy can.
Okay, Kathy, would you like to mention anything about rec?
So right now, for our rec department, of course, our department head has been cut. Like we said, we're gonna go for a part-time recreation director. So salaries, we're going from full-time to part-time. We have our summer rec program that we will be holding our summer rec program. Actually, Kathy is working on that now. We did cut busing for the summer rec program, so we cut expense there. Transportation will have to be provided for the families. Supplies, expenses. We do have a senior program coordinator there, $8,000, and we have a senior social service coordinator there. who comes in and helps with any questions with senior citizens. With our rec department, what we hope to do is be able to bring in new programs to increase revenue, to have more activities going on in the town. That we have, as the town, taken over the pool, so you'll see that that pool expense has been taken out of the recreation department. Again, that is so we can keep a closer watch on what our revenues, our expenses are, so that we'll be able to see if the pool is going to be able to sustain itself or not.
It's not sustaining itself now, is it?
Not, and Kelly, if you want, I know we did the analysis on it.
And when
We
you say
may be
sustaining,
pretty close, within $10,000.
what do you include in that? Do you include the chemicals, the lights, the heat?
Yes, yes.
You include the whole thing?
Electricity, heat, water, because sometimes you have to flush the pool, so water, chemicals, and light burns.
Oh, good.
So it's the 5.
How about that little thing that goes in the pool? They used to call it the animal.
All right, any questions for our rec department?
Who's running it right now?
Kathy is, and we are her backup.
Kathy?
Kathy Taylor.
Oh, okay.
And she's actually been at the rec department for approximately 35 years. She knows the rec department in and out. She worked very close with Myra, so she has a good understanding. She handles the program. She's been able to hire the people, and a lot of the people that do the summer rec program are people that are coming back. So she's handled that prior to Myra leaving, so she's handling that now.
Okay, thank you, Kathy.
Why did,
Sorry.
why did we have to hire a part-timer on Fridays and Saturdays for the pool? Is that because the town hall hours changed? What caused that hiring of that part-time person?
Well, what happened now was to fill a spot, a boy who left, who did that. And then the only other part that we fill in right now is the Friday evening. And again, we're watching that very close to see what the enrollment, how many people actually use the pool Friday evening, to see if we're going to keep that open in the evening.
So we're adding that pay into the pool?
Yes, we are, yes, that's absorbed in the pool.
Okay.
That's just a few hours, but that's not the whole day?
No, because the morning hours and Saturday morning hours were already filled by a young man who was at the rec center who left. So we filled that position, which that's not a new position, we just filled. And so right now, all we have to cover are the 4 hours in the evening. And again, like I said, we're monitoring that to see if it's worth keeping the pool open Friday evenings or changing the program where we could bring in more revenue for that program Friday evening.
So you have Friday morning and Friday evening covered?
Yes.
And during the rest of the day, nobody's here?
When the pool is being used, there is coverage, and that's how it's always been, Ted. If no one's in the pool, you're not going to pay for coverage there.
We have people that come in for rehabilitation too. Like certain facilities will come in and use the pool.
So if you have a facility, let's say you have somebody renting the pool, like you said, for physical therapy.
There's someone
Do
in
we
there
have
too.
to have somebody here?
Yeah.
Okay, just
Yeah.
asking.
Yes. Yep.
Okay, anything else for rec department? No? Okay. Is there anybody present, any department heads present that I missed here to speak on behalf of the proposed budget? No? Okay. And Kathy, you have nothing else to add, correct, when it comes to selectmen?
So when you look at the selectmen, the first selectman, you can see that I will not take an increase. Nothing really has changed. It's actually 2017-18, 2018-19, you see a $2,800 increase. Part of that, what that is the increase for the selectmen selectman, not the first selectman. Our secretary, who has taken on the responsibility of handling the pool, she's the highway department secretary, and her salary was less than the clerk's salary. So she's picked up a lot more responsibility. She's picked up more responsibility with different programs, so that's where you see her increase coming in.
All right, any questions for Kathy in regards to selectmen? No? Okay. Kelly, anything to add to the proposed budget that we did not cover?
Insurance, I can go over insurance and benefits.
Yep.
That's page 5. Workers' comp went down 5%, and our general liability life insurance went down. Medical insurance had to increase, it's roughly 7.5%. Since we're a part of the self-insured program at E-CHIP, we have to cover if your additional claims increase. That's what represents the increase of 7.5. We have an increase, Social Security tax, obviously, if raise salary increase, we have to increase Social Security tax. Pension, they're requesting 1.5 million a year now to fund it 100%, so we plan on increasing it another 100,000. Right now, WPCA covers 100,000, they cover their 100%, so I'll be contributing 1.2 million to the pension. Retirement payout, we're anticipating 1 retiree next year, so that's a reduction. This year we have 2. General town expenditures, one that we have a reduction in postage, I think we'll be fine. The next one is computers. Kyle, do you want to say anything about computers?
You guys have questions?
I do not have any questions. Does anybody in regards to computers?
Is that full-time, Kyle?
Yeah, all full-time,
Full-time plus?
plus a lot.
Okay.
Computer salaries goes up per contract. Probate went up, a little increase based on population and the cost per population. Town aid road decreased a little because I'm getting less funding from the state, $238. Contingency, when I have to post like for town hearings and town meetings, that'll cover those. Purchase services, Connecticut Conference, municipalities, Department of Health, the dispatch, emergency management, Council of Government, bulky waste. Bulky waste has a little increase of $15,000 per contract. Meals on Wheels, everything else pretty much maintained the same in the purchase services, just bulky waste went up per contract. Capital expenses, local capital improvements, that went down per state, that's funded by the state, $87,000. The purchase of 2 police cars in current year budget, we'll have to make our second installment payment next year. The grants and municipal project that I discussed, municipal revenue sharing, $144,000, that's all highway related. I can only use that for highway related projects. A last payment of a truck lease that we're doing for the highway department. Next year is our last payment of $59,000. And town building repairs, $24,000. And that represents various towns, various buildings in the town. And then you have all the debt interest and the debt principal. Those are amortization schedules, they're fixed. And then you have your fund balance usage. $32,542, which is the town revaluation. $300,000 if we do for road construction, and the $260,000 that backhaul. And that gives the bottom line, and then you have the school's expenditures.
So when we do road construction, is it our employees doing the road construction, or are we hiring them?
No, we hire out, it's a paving of roads. Yeah. We're behind. We haven't paved in 2 years now.
Right.
So we're gonna try to pave
Yeah.
this spring. We might have 2-3 roads is what we're looking at, see what we get. And if I have extra money, then we'll try to pay for more.
Can you explain the knee card transportation? Isn't that something we don't even have, or yet we have $12,486 in it?
Yeah, he was actually here today, wasn't,
I'm sorry.
Nicog, about the transportation.
Yes.
He was here today discussing it.
Yes, actually, I met with John Filchak today regarding the transportation and what he's going to do right now. Because again, of state funding, what it would cost, he's going to set up a meeting with myself, Lily Paul, Senator Murphy, Joe Courtney, and see if we can do it as a 2-year pilot program where we would get funding for that. Because right now, where it stands, we're that hole. So you have a connection from Thompson to Killingley, and then we're that black hole. And if we could fill that, it would connect us to Jewett City, which Jewett City would connect to Norwich, New London. And actually what they're working on from Thompson end is to hook into Worcester. So we actually just started the process to get that going, to see if we can get that as a pilot program, to be able to see if it's beneficial or not.
So Kelly, you said the bulky waste was contractual.
Yeah.
How long is that, I assume Willamette Waste?
Yeah, Willimantic Waste, we had a contract, it was renegotiated last year to amend it, because the rates were going up even higher. So that's when the reduction was made, I think 4 visits now, I want to say?
Yeah.
So that reduction was made. So I think it was a three-year contract.
And actually, I meet tomorrow with Willimantic Waste to see if we can renegotiate that contract.
Well, I was gonna say that, 'cause if we went from 18 to 4, they're gonna have a lot, most of them should have a lot less waste, so why are we paying $16,000 more?
Yeah, I don't, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's true.
Or am I wrong?
No, no.
That's a good point, Scott,
No,
thanks.
that's true.
Do you see, like, so for you, trust me, I know everybody's wicked busy, but is there any way that we can take town and Board of Ed and combine some services like finance, computers, building and grounds? Is there any way that we can save money by combining with the Board of Ed and find better ways to do it?
In current year budget, there was some mandates that the Board of Ed is supposed to, like copy machines, technology and stuff, they're supposed to back up to the town. Like, we're supposed to be in those together, not one there and one there. So I don't know when that's gonna actually happen, I don't know when their lease agreements are up, but that was one thing that was proposed in Malloy's budget that passed.
Do you guys have all the same contracts or stuff like that? So are our printers the same contract as the Board of Ed?
No. Nope.
Because that's where you save money.
Yes.
Because then you can negotiate contracts because you're giving somebody
Because the
more work.
bulk, you're gonna give the whole bulk
Right.
of all the,
I
yes,
do this
no.
for a living, that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, no, we don't, we have 2 different companies.
Right, because it's, yeah, if you can combine services like that between the two of you, it gives you more buying power and lets you.
It's like the self-insured, it's like our self-insured health insurance, same thing.
Right.
Yes, I agree, yes.
Yeah, it's also a good point, Scott, you bring up about not just technology, but also facilities, buildings. Having the people who are certified in certain areas for facilities, and whether it be a school building or a town-owned building, no matter what.
I know
being able to service them.
you can ask Donald, I don't know, he's out there.
He's still there.
He does do a lot for the maintenance of the school grounds. Highway department is up there a lot, and the highway does plow some of their parking lots during snowstorms.
Right.
So that's less they have to pay out for plowing or cutting down trees,
Right.
that type of stuff.
Yeah, I think just back, oh, sorry.
Oh, no. Yeah, if you could just finish.
So just, again, back to the backhaul. I would just,
You want
to increase it by 180 is bad. In my point, looking at it, it's a bad situation. I agree that he needs it.
Yeah.
If he's dealing with a 1984 thing, again, I got myself into a situation in the job that I took over 18 months ago. They were using 2002 tractors, and, they're junk. And then they became expensive to maintain and all that. So you gotta have the equipment to do your job. I have no problem with the equipment. The problem is the upping.
You'd rather lease.
Yeah, especially if the lease comes with some type of maintenance program. So that's what I did. Again, we We went out, we renegotiated, we rented tractors, we leased tractors, we have a 7-year lease, with it comes all the maintenance. We don't have to do any maintenance, my maintenance department does not do any tractor and trailer repairs anymore. So if there's a lease program out there that includes maintenance, that takes some pressure off of his guys, so they can be doing other things while the equipment's being maintained, it's also a win. So it's something, to raise it $180,000, I just don't think it's good practice right now in the state that the town's in.
Right. Oh, I get that. Okay.
All right, Ted, you had something?
Kathy, at the senior center,
Yes.
you mentioned something about helping the seniors on their taxes. Did you ever consider a freeze?
I did talk to, I believe it was the town of Killingly. I don't believe you can do a freeze anymore.
Killingly
And
does it.
No,
Mary
we do
Ellen,
not do any freezes anymore.
Killingly does it,
Killingly does it?
yeah.
I had talked to Mary Ellen before, and she had told me you cannot do tax freezes anymore.
I talked to a young lady the other day, she said she had a tax freeze.
I can talk to them, Ted, that's all I can tell you. Mary Ellen can contact them and find out more. But we have been looking at different options, so.
Ted, they're probably, it's
Grandfathered in.
grandfathered in, so, it doesn't change.
It's hard to say. At the time, I assume they got it when everybody else did, when the state was funding it. And we dropped it after the state stopped funding it, but they continued. That's the way with our veterans program now, right? The state don't fund it anymore.
I have not heard, Kelly, if
We
that
get
has been dropped.
for the veterans program, if I'm reading it right, we get $6,700
Is
from the
that
state.
for the soldiers and sailors fund? Or is that for the disabled fund?
It's veterans exemption is what it's called. I don't know the exact, qualifications, but when I get the
Well, there's
payment.
like 3 or 4 programs.
I haven't seen
A veteran that served during a specific war period would get something,
it. Yep.
but a disabled veteran will get it no matter when he served.
Yeah, I don't.
And that just changed.
Well, there's.
All right, at this time, I would like to do a final ask of the Board of Finance. If there's any questions, comments, or concerns that haven't been discussed yet, that haven't been asked, if you want to raise at this time regarding what we've heard from the department heads and regarding the proposed fiscal year 2018-19 budget. All right, very good. At this time, we will conclude that and move on to item number 4 in our agenda, which is citizens' participation. Just a reminder on citizens' participation, you can ask a question or comment about anything that we discussed tonight regarding this fiscal year budget proposal, nothing outside of that. So I will open the floor. Nope.
I do.
Oh.
Hi, Laura Stegall, Moosup. I had a couple questions. My first question was regarding bulky waste. Why don't we charge a fee for that permit? I mean, I know when I moved here 20 years ago, I paid $40 for that. Now it's free and it's gone up so much. I didn't realize how much it was until I just looked at it today. I mean, if people are going to use it, I don't think they mind paying $40 a year. I mean, they might complain, but I mean, but they're going to use it because most people I think that use it. I mean, how many on bulky stickers do we sell or give out? You said like 2,000?
2,000 a year,
Yeah.
approximately 2,000 a year.
I mean, so if you even charge $20 or $40, I mean, that's something to bring your revenue back up and to help save on that.
Those are all things that we will be discussing.
Okay, thank you. And then I also, the librarian, she makes $70,000 a year, part-time? Is that what it was? She said 22 hours a week. Did I hear that correctly?
No, we have one librarian and 4 part-time people.
Oh, so that 70,000 is everybody in the library?
Yes, and that's all expenses and everything.
Okay, well, it wasn't broken down, that's why I was asking. That's why I asked. And then my other question was regarding the IT department. He makes $40,000 full-time here in Plainfield, but I've also heard that he works full-time in Putnam. Is that correct? It's not correct, you don't work for the Putnam
I
town?
don't work for Putnam at all.
Okay, because I've heard that rumor, and I just wanted to ask to make sure if it was true or not.
No.
Okay, I'm glad you cleared it up.
Okay.
Because I don't want, if people are saying, I'm hearing it, so I had a chance to ask, I saw you here, so I wanted to find out for certain.
Sterling, maybe.
So, there's no other town that you work for?
Sterling.
Sterling you do, full-time?
No, it's building official.
Building official? Okay, I was just curious how you work full-time for Plainfield,
No, I work there 10 hours a week.
10 hours a week. Okay. That's it, thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? Public participation? No, then in that case, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. All right. You have a second? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, thank you.